Right, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Common Sense Guys channel. For all of the new subscribers that have subscribed to us over the last couple of weeks, especially over the last couple of days with the new video that popped up, thank you very much. Every now and again, I don't just do politics videos. I like to talk about people and their ideologies. That way I can try and find out why people tick and how they tick, why they make their decisions, and so on and so forth. Today, that's going to be one of the situations that we're going to be talking about. We're going to find out what makes somebody tick, and that person is going to be Miss Murder, and we're going to find out why she's an American centrist and what the fuck does that even mean. So, how are you doing today, Miss Murder? Are you okay? Oh no, she left. She left in the middle. Oh, that's not good, is it? That's not good. I think she'll be coming back, so hopefully everything should go okay. If not, ask me some questions in the chat. Please help me. Good thing is that she should come back. So
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Little bit of a glitch. Oh shit, things are falling over. Give me a hot second. I'm using my phone. Don't judge me. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. What's up with you?
I'm doing absolutely amazing at the minute. I'm just trying to find out what the hell is an American centrist.
It's a centralist. I'm sorry if I didn't make that distinction before. It's American centralist. It basically means that I don't swing one way or the other politically. It's whatever would be best for the country at that particular time. Basically, it means that I can be pro-choice and pro-gun at the same time, and it is glorious.
So, what's the actual difference in your mind then to a centrist and a centralist?
One is incorrectly being said.
In what aspect? Or is that in your own aspect?
That is basically just... It basically means you're in the center of the political spectrum, basically.
So would not both labels match then, or do you have a different label?
Yeah, no, I just prefer the one pronunciation over the other.
Okay. So technically in your mind, just so I know, the distinction without any sort of merit. If you say that you're a centrist or a centralist, it basically in your mind means the same thing, just like centralist.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Not a problem. So I suppose that some people would say that you hold contradictory points of views. And if you're a Republican, they would say that you hold contradictory point of views, but some people would say that you don't.
Which is why I refer to it as a filthy centralist. It's kind of like calling someone a godless heathen. Basically, it's the same principle. Which is funny because I actually am a heathen. So.
By definition, actually, yes.
By definition.
Even.
Politically, spiritually, I find it very amusing, especially since I work in a very Christian school. I can
imagine that's
the irony is not lost. The irony is not lost on me.
So, what would you say is your most controversial contradiction? Because I know that you could say that you are pro-gun, but also pro-abortion. So I know that you've already said
it's not pro-abortion. It is pro-choice.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I just have to make that distinction. I have to make that distinction because over here, people use that as a derogatory kind of thing.
Sure.
So, and I don't want people from outside of the U.S. to then use it thinking it's the correct term when it very much is not.
That's fine. No, that's actually fine. I was just trying to get a joke in about a distinction without merit.
Yeah, well, no, you don't. No, fuck off with your British humor.
So
that I think would be the most distinctive. Would be the while I am pro-choice, I am also very pro-gun, very stand your ground. I think the one that really doesn't always sit well with people is that I can be those things on top of the fact that I am also very much a absolutist when it comes to the freedom of speech. While there are things that
So you don't think that anything?
No, nothing should be, no. And here's why.
So if I was, yeah, go on.
The reason being is that, one, on a psychological level, studies have shown that when you repress that particular aspect of the human psyche and, human nature, you actually have a much more hostile and a much more stressed and more prone to violent society. You actually have a worse off society because it is human nature to want to express ourselves. That is how we are as sentient beings.
Sure.
So it makes sense to have a more functional society, to have a more harmonious society, is to allow those things. But just because you have the freedom to say some things, that does not mean that you have the freedom of getting away with saying those things. Things are not without consequence. That is the entire point, which I think a lot of people miss.
No, I completely kind of understand. I say completely kind of because that's a contradiction. Hey. But I do understand where you're coming from. So just so I can understand, you're okay with people being able to say like something like libel, slander, sorry. You're okay with people saying slander to somebody, but you also...
But here's the thing. The consequence of saying something that is absolutely not the truth, you still have the right to then, face the consequences of saying such things. Like if someone were to say that so-and-so supported X horrific thing, whatever, add in whatever you want here. And that person goes, no, I don't. I'm taking you to court. That is also perfectly understandable and is perfectly legal and is perfectly acceptable. While you have the right to say whatever you want. However, other people also have the right to show you the consequences of your actions.
Sure. Which is kind of where I was going with the absolutist point of view. Now, you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but as far as I'm aware, most absolutists actually want to get rid of the libel laws and slander laws and
I have not personally... No, I have not personally encountered that, but if I ever do, I will let you know.
No, that's absolutely fine. So when you say an absolutist, do you mean something that's very much akin to the system that you already have with the First Amendment being enshrined, so to speak?
Yes, that is generally what is considered absolutist to my understanding of it.
Okay. So basically, almost exactly the same system as what you have in America now.
Yes, and actually, I know you guys have anti-hate speech laws and whatever. That actually really bothers me. That feels tyrannical to me. That actually very much upsets me. To think that the government to me, that's tyrannical. That's like, whoa,
I agree.
That's like, okay, no government body is going to tell me what I can or cannot say. I will face the consequences of what I say. But at the same time, I also believe that in a place of employment, unless you are doing something that is legitimately illegal, should not be able to fire you over some bullshit that you say on the line. And that has happened in the United States. I think that is utter horseshit. Especially if you say it and you're off the clock. You no longer represent that place.
Sure, I completely understand that. In that case, then, would you say that if somebody was to commit a crime and the work found out a crime, no, because you already said that if it's illegal, so no, that wouldn't work. Okay. I'm just trying to work my way around that one. So it wouldn't matter. Do you believe that the companies are a private entity, and in retrospect, as long as it doesn't infringe on other people's rights, they can do what they want in aspect?
To a certain extent, yes. As long as a private entity in what way?
Any private company. So, say for instance, a security company, or say for instance, a cleaning company, any sort of private company, not a conglomeration or a corporation or anything like that. Just a simple private company.
To an extent, yes. It should not infringe on others' rights. It should not knowingly or purposefully endanger the lives of its workers beyond reason, basically. Such as you can't have a coal mining company and then say, oh, well, you can't endanger any of your employees. That particular career choice, by its nature, is known for being very dangerous just due to what you're doing, period. That would be basic. It's common sense, which unfortunately is so rare these days that it should be classified as a superpower, but yeah.
No, I completely agree. So say for instance that me as part of a company, I just didn't like you, for instance. So I gave you your 2-3 weeks notice that I'm supposed to do legally. Would you have a objection to me doing that for that reason?
What would be the reason?
I just don't like you, and I just don't want you to be working at my place of work that I employ. I just don't want you there. You would have to have,
in the United States, and I agree with the current law that it's in place, you have to have a legit legal reason as to why I should not be employed by you. Otherwise, I can turn around and say, you discriminated against me due to A, B, C, D, all the way to Z. That is actually that law is actually, I think, or to my understanding of it, more to protect the company than it is people. Because when it comes to public relations, the United States has a bit of a reputation of flipping their shit when it comes to certain things.
And no, I'm completely not with you on that one.
Yeah. Some people may disagree
makes a really
with
good
me.
point in chat, which is that's absolutely fine. No, I don't think most people would disagree with you on that. That's the reason why that law in itself is in place. I think they try and talk about anti-discrimination laws where you have to employ certain groups of people because they are certain groups of people.
That I do disagree with. That I do disagree with, though.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that one. Optimus Christ makes an excellent point in chat, which if somebody is busting out the N-word, even if it's on the internet or around, in that instance, I could quite easily say that because of you working for me, in retrospect, that affects my brand. That if people find out that you work for me, that can retrospectively hurt my brand because I employ you.
Not that a reason why? I would say no. If they are off the clock saying that, even on the internet, that may or may not land them in some hot water with their boss if they take them aside privately and go, look, hey, I know you've been saying this. You need to knock it off. But that would not be, in my opinion, reason for termination. Reprimand, yes. Termination, no.
Okay,
but that would also be a consequence of the freedom of speech. Just because you have the right to, just because you can doesn't mean you should, is the basic premise.
No, I completely not agree. Which is why I was going to go down the road of trying to say that, okay, well, I've just come out and started saying all this amazing crap. I've got national attention, why I'm not being on the clock. People have found out where I work. So now my association...
If it got to that level, then absolutely that would be reason for termination, as it would be hitting a level to where it would significantly and negatively affect the company. But just because, like, great example, a scientist, and I don't know the specifics because it's been so long. A scientist was basically fired because he decided to wear a certain T-shirt. That is something that was bullshit. He got fired because he wore a T-shirt because somebody got a bit uppity and basically just went, oh, I don't like that. That's horrible. It's like, no, it was, you're just oversensitive. Shut up.
I agree that those types of people are oversensitive, but unfortunately, when it comes to a point of science in those aspects, people are normally funded by public bodies. So with that type of aspect, now I don't agree with it.
I don't agree with it either. I understand it. That doesn't mean I agree with it.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that that's even in the system that you've already prescribed to and said that you want the laws the same as how America already has it. The point is that when it comes to the point of how people perceive different companies because of your own actions, whether or not you're meaning it in a malicious or malice way, it affects the company. Because it affects the company, it then affects you.
Yes, I understand that perfectly well. I do. I don't particularly care for it. I don't agree with it. But then again, I also do not think the way a vast majority of people do. And that is, I don't put emotion behind my arguments. If I see a company doing something that I don't particularly like, and it is on a moral basis, it's like, oh, well, some employee started spouting off, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to blame the company because a certain employee is being a dipshit. Okay, it's not the company's fault that that person is being stupid. That is what they're doing to me in my head is all on them. I'm not going to stop shopping at this company because so-and-so said thus and thus and it meant this and this. To me, that's stupid. That's a stupid reason to stop shopping at a company. It's illogical. Now, if a company themselves, on the other hand, started doing something that is immoral and irreparable, that is a valid reason, such as, well, we're not going to hire anyone of such and such and such and such because stupid reason here. That would be a valid reason to boycott the company.
Sure. So you do have an instinct in boycotting companies for what some employees may do on the clock that affects the company, so to speak.
See, here's the thing, though. The employees are a separate entity from the corporate. The corporation is a separate entity from the employees. I do not see them in the same instance. Just because you work for somewhere does not mean that you represent it to a certain degree. Like, just because you and I are on YouTube, that doesn't mean we represent YouTube.
No, but we do represent our own channel and our own brands. And then because we represent our own channel and brands, that also affects then YouTube. If you have pedophiles trying to do something on their own channels on YouTube, it then affects YouTube because they've allowed it.
Well, yeah, I see that, but that is of a different aspect, in my opinion. That is something that...
If I was to say...
If you were to start spouting certain ideologies, not necessarily that of the...
Sure. It's just an example. We don't need to stick with that.
Just an example. I would first see you as being immoral and, in need for calling out.
Sure.
Now, if YouTube decided to silence those who are calling you out, then I would then turn to YouTube and go, okay, so you're sanctioning this action. Now it's on you.
Sure. But my point was that even if you're just talking about situations to try and go on Dark Apostle's point as well, just because that you are talking about something doesn't mean that you actually are enacting it Now, I don't
That is
agree
also
with
true.
any of that ideology. Yeah, I don't agree with any point of that ideology whatsoever. But if you're talking about something, then it's not illegal, especially if we're going on America's.
No.
Yeah.
No. I agree completely.
Because I am, yeah, but because I'm talking about something like that, or because I'm mentioning it, YouTube as a company, as a platform, can decide to deplatform me. Now, a company, because you are working for that company, you are representing in part that company. So if I was to do something similar, or if I was to do something that puts that company into disrepute, then they can sack me because of it, because it brings that company in disrepute. In most contract clauses, when you sign up to work for a company, they normally have that in the clause for a determination of.
I do understand that. I do understand that. But again, just because I understand where it doesn't mean I necessarily agree with it. I don't have a perfect solution for it, but it does bother me to a certain extent. Not to an extreme per se, but it's just something that it irks me a little bit. But bygones be bygones. That's not the hill I choose to die on.
No, that's fair enough. It's just an interesting concept, because I'm so used to talking to people that are saying private companies or even aspects of corporations are their own entities, and if they want to do something, then generally, as long as it's not against the law, they're allowed to do it, so to speak. And I just found that
which I understand.
Refreshing to be able to have a nuanced point of view.
Sorry? Yeah, I do understand where they're coming from, but there are other things involved there that makes me hesitant. Like, while I do believe, like, yes, I do like the idea of a free market, very much so. Should we allow corporations to do whatever the hell they want? No. Everything is in moderation. Everything.
Oh yeah, that's the reason why other societies put in laws and put in guidances. That's the reason why I'm a big believer in societal norms and societal laws. But at the same point, companies react and act in those societal norms and laws. And if they go, if companies go against that, then
prematurely, sometimes not. But I'm very, very much on a situational basis. What is the situation?
Sure, no, I am most of the time. I don't believe that there are blanket statements that you can have for every situation. Which is why I was saying that there's always going to be nuanced points, but when we're talking in generalities and trying to ask hypotheticals, we have to do it in generalities, I suppose.
I do understand that, and that's an aspect of being a centralist that does cause you to run into problems, because the whole ideology is very much on a situational to situational basis. It's what is needed in the then and now. What is wrong right now? What is broken that needs to be fixed right now? And that's really why a lot of those who are in the middle tend to not talk about their ideology. They tend to kind of keep it under wraps, because it's not an easy ideology to explain. It's not something that is very defended.
Well, I don't know. I think it is actually easily defended. It's just not defended in generalities, because when you actually bring up different aspects, you can quite easily go into why you think about something on different aspects and nuances in those instances. But generalities, I agree with you. It's hard to defend. But I suppose the reason why I would say, or ask a question on this one, do you think that it's hard being a centralist simply because that you can and do hold different points of views from the far left and the far right, but because you're in the center, you feel that maybe you're attacked by both sides every now and again, and it's hard to be able to express or hang with different company?
Yes, because if you believe in one thing, you're always going to have someone who's talking shit about you. It doesn't matter. If you're in the center, everyone fucking hates you for one reason or another. Like, I am hated by the far right because I am pro-choice. I'm liked by the far right because I can talk about guns with them and I'm totally cool with the NRA and shit like that. I'm hated by the far left for almost the same reason. Like because of I'm pro-choice, but they hate me because of my stance on gun laws.
Yeah.
The whole thing. So yeah, you're getting attacked by both sides all the time. And, on some aspects, I've been called a, filthy left-wing liberal. And other times I get called a neo-Nazi and being, part of the quote-unquote alt-right, which neither is true. And it's also very hard to explain to people because there's really no general label that is, vastly understood. I think the best way to describe it is a centralist is the political version of being, a non-binary, or not assigning to either male or female.
No, I think that you hit the nail on the head on that one, because the way that I've always experienced it, that I can have, as you quite rightly said, I can have conversations with people on the far right, and I can agree in most part with most of their ideologies, and I can do exactly the same as people on the left. The point that always seems to come up in my experience, and I'm wondering if it's the same for you, is that when you start getting into the nitty gritty of why you believe this or why you believe that, or why there are slight differences, those slight differences are always picked up on by the opposite end of who you're talking about.
Oh yes.
And as soon as they start picking up on those differences,
then you're evil.
They kind of start othering you.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They start othering you. They start labeling you their enemy rather than their ally.
Which is absolutely not true. It's because the other sides are, well, you're either with us 100% or you're against us 100%. Here's the thing. Yeah. People do not understand that ideas are on a sliding spectrum. And I think that reason is because they put their ideology for politics and everything else so closely with their own personal identity, which I don't do and which most centralists don't do, which is what freaks people out, and it just makes them lose their shit.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm completely not with you on that one. I do think that when you get to the extremes of both sides, seem to always have that as part of their identity.
It's the horseshoe theory.
When you have, I mean, that's the only thing that I kind of agree with Sargon on, and we've had our talk about Sargon before and what we would technically do to him together. But that's the only thing that I would actually agree with him on. I do think that there are points where you could actually make complete and mirror images on the opposite sides. Now, that doesn't mean that I think they're all interloops and they're the same thing. I'm just saying that there are opposites, and they do seem to interlink with each other.
The two opposite sides are closer to each other than they are in the middle. They are two sides of the same coin.
That I agree with.
A centralist is a totally different coin. It's an entirely different currency, and people don't like that.
I would disagree
maybe
with
not
that.
An entirely different currency, but it's an alternative.
I agree with you. I think it's a different way of looking at things. I'm not trying to say, we're so analytical, we're so different to everybody else, that we have all different points of view and we can have nuances and everything else like that.
We're just more vocal assholes. That's all we are.
Well, no, I mean, we are in most aspects, but I would say that, as you quite rightly said, we don't put our political beliefs as point of identity. We don't say that, I'm a centrist. That isn't a label that we go around and wear, but leftists do and people on the right do. And I think that's the difference. The tribe that's already been enshrined into people's minds stops them from actually being able to work with each other. To put it in aspects, it's like the Chicago Bulls fighting off against the LA Lakers. They're always going to fucking hate each other.
Oh, yes. For whatever reason. Actually, a better example would be the Chicago Bears and the Wisconsin Packers. Everyone in Chicago hates the Green Bay Packers, hates them. Okay? The only way you can wear a Green Bay Packers jersey in Chicago is if someone is standing right next to you with a t-shirt that says, "I'm what's stupid." Okay? That's the only way you can do that and not get shot. I've done it before, trust me. I have done the research. We will always hate. We call them cheeseheads. We fucking hate them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But you could still get a person from Chicago and a person from Green Bay, and they could be best friends unless they're talking football. Then,
Yeah.
it's a fucking bloodbath.
Which is really interesting in aspect because you can switch that to politics. I believe that the three things that can cause wars are politics, religion, and sports. Generally, those are the things that can cause fights
I
and
would
wars.
add a fourth one to that. If someone were to ever destroy the beer industry in the United States, you would absolutely see a fucking war happening. I think prohibition kind of proved that very well.
No, I completely not agree with you on that one. Actually, to be fair, but I think that what I'm trying to grasp at is that I find it interesting because people like yourself seem to be not necessarily attacked physically, but ideas are always challenged more by people on both sides because we have differing point of views. And I find it really interesting that when people pick up on the differences that you have, that it doesn't matter if it's the tolerant left and it doesn't matter if it's the asshole right. It always seems to be that once they pick up on those differences,
they become intolerant.
Push you away. Yeah, they kind of other you and try to attack you for those.
Well, because you're not. It's solely because you don't fit the mold. Humans do not like that. We like things that we can sort into a little box. We like patterns. We like consistency. When there is no consistency, we don't like it. You can see it on a primal basis too. You're not a part of my tribe. You must be a part of the other tribe.
Yes.
Even when neither is true.
Yes.
It's kind of like being. It's kind of like being a hybrid or a crossbreed. You're, or as I like to call it, the half-breed.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, I suppose my question then is to that, or to add in a little bit of a curveball, so to speak, is I don't know how old you are, and I don't need to ask you either on that one, but I'll be able to find out relatively by this question. Would it be an apt description to say that in the 80s and 90s, people, even if they were to the fars, which was not that many, and in actual fact, more people were towards the center, do you think that people have drifted apart, that more and more people, because they are othering each other to fit in with other groups, that people that were centrists have now gone, well, because I want to be friends with Jim or Sarah, that I need to try and say that I'm far right or I'm far left? Do you think the identities themselves are now playing more of a role in your friendship circles than what it ever used to?
I would say yes, very much so. And just by the by, I'm 27. I tend to have more old-fashioned beliefs. So, and I was very young in the 90s. I was still in grammar school. I remember Y2K very vaguely because I wasn't even 10 years old yet. But I do see a big difference. There is a huge difference between how society was in the 90s and how they are today, which is one to be expected because it's been decades. Society changes very quickly. It changes to the point where it is almost unreasonable to think that laws will change as quickly as society does. Because something that was totally acceptable 10 years ago is now completely unacceptable now. And here, great example. When I was a kid, I was in first grade, it was perfectly acceptable to let your small children ride in the back trunk of your pickup truck as long as there was pillows and blankets and as long as they stayed on their butt. I did that many times as a child. I remember that vividly. I remember my aunt getting pulled over on the side of the road, and as long as you weren't going on any highways or toll roads, totally fine. Now, oh my dear gods, they will fry you alive on the 6 o'clock news if your kid doesn't look like they're going into deep space in the backseat of a car. If you back out of your driveway and they're not like that, oh my God. It's like, y'all need to chill, okay? The 90s were full of very violent toys. I had shit like lawn darts that were basically 3-pound darts that could kill an elk.
They
that was a totally acceptable toy. You know, the original Easy Bake Oven, where a kid like burned off like 3 of their fingers. I remember that.
I suppose my next question to you on that would be then. I suppose my next question to you on that would be, where do you think that these differences had come from? Because we can quite easily assess that the differences have occurred, but where do we actually think that they've come from? Like,
honestly, I think it's the swing of the pendulum. It is the swing of the pendulum. This has been happening long before. I don't particularly know what exactly caused it, but I can tell you that this has been happening for a very long time. It's been happening well through the 80s, well through the 90s. We're just now seeing the pendulum swinging to a point where it's gotten to be a problem. The pendulum will always swing from left to right. We're just seeing it swinging to the left right now. And we're old enough to understand what that means. But
I mean, I've kind of noticed myself that the pendulum in itself doesn't seem to be swinging the same way as it used to. It's not swinging as a metronome, as in you have one aspect of government in. It seems to be, for me, it seems to be splitting down the middle. Instead of it being one metronome, so to speak, as a visualization, as in one strand that's swinging from side to side, it seems that that one strand is now separating. And you're kind of getting both extremes being acceptable, but the center doesn't seem to be acceptable anymore.
Here's the thing, though, is when the pendulum swings either way, you're always going to have those who are controversial for the sake of being controversial. A former friend of mine, I'm not going to name any names, but he held a lot of beliefs that were controversial just for the sake of them being controversial. He was someone who always had to be on the outs of society. That was his entire identity. Anti-vax, anti-government, anti-this, anti-that, but yet he still wanted, equal income across the board. He still wanted equal equity. He still wanted all this government involvement. I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
How can you want that, which is a direct contradiction from this? Now, a lot of people will say that, well, centralist is the same thing. No, it is not. We have specific beliefs that may come from opposite sides. But when we do have those beliefs coming from opposite sides, we're very clear that we're aware of this. Like, we're not both pro-life and pro-choice. Okay, I mean, we're not that at the same time.
I would quickly just want to add, maybe it's something that maybe is putting words into your mouth, but maybe it's an easy way of explaining it as we're situational people, we're situational thinkers.
Yes.
Well, if you ask me a question on abortion, I'm going to give you a discussion on abortion separately from any other aspect of what government intervention or religious aspects are going to be on. But if you ask me about those, I can give you an individual aspect on that or situation aspect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm the same way. I can say, well, for the general reasons that it was set into place, yes, I would say I am pro-choice. Do I think that it should be extended past the 5th month? No. Because at that point, it is a damn near fully formed fetus. That's where I draw the line.
Let's move away. Let's move away from
Yes.
abortion,
Yes.
because unfortunately, it doesn't matter who and what's in chat. It always devolves into a type of argument that this stream's not for. So let's move away from that.
Yep. Gotcha.
I suppose that my honest question to you would be, as somebody that sees things maybe similar to what I do, or maybe not, I've noticed quite a lot myself that it seems, I suppose, obvious enigma is actually put it, maybe not the same way as I would do with terminology, but in the similar aspects of how I'm thinking, that this pendulum does seem to be splitting, and it's split into the extremes.
Yes.
I'm just trying to work out why those
we
extremes.
are on the verge of a civil war. We are.
In aspects,
I
yes.
believe that.
No, I agree. In aspects, we are.
I mean, quite literally.
No, that's what I'm saying. I agree. I'm saying I agree. And I'm just wondering where those factions seem to be coming from. Because it seems that, as you said, we are tribalizing each other.
It is coming from people who feel that they are going unheard, and people who also feel that they are being threatened by those who are unheard. It is a us versus them. It is someone who wants very desperately to be liked by everybody, and a bunch of people who no longer give a shit and don't like the changes that are happening because they see it as an infringement. And this can go either way. You can turn this, doesn't matter. I'm not saying it's the left versus the right. You just have two types of people that are actually just the vocal minority. Because really, the United States, it's not red, it's not blue, it's very purple, to be perfectly frank.
Yeah.
It is.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah. Sometimes you go with the left, sometimes you go with the right. But most of the time,
yeah, no,
for a centralist, both sides are stupid and you hate them both 90% of the time.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you on that one. I suppose what I'm trying to grasp at is, I can see that we're tribalizing, as you quite rightly said. We're getting so divided and entrenched in our own. I'm going to say it because it is. Whether people on the right want to say it's identity politics or not, it fucking is. You're playing into their role of saying that you're right wing, you're this, you're that. You're playing into labeling yourself a particular ideology. You're playing identity politics.
Oh yeah.
I think that when that identity politics was actually introduced, I think that's when people started to tribalize. And I think that is honestly the downfall of what's going on.
I am very much against putting importance on things that are pretty much non-issue. This actually goes into another ideology that I subscribe to, and that is the fact that I am also an egalitarian. Which some people would say, oh, well, that makes you a feminist. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. Feminism does not have the patent on wanting equality for everyone.
No.
But as an
there's a reason why egalitarianism actually exists rather than it being called feminism.
Yes. But on top of that, I also subscribe to a philosophy which is known, which actually got some shit a few years ago, but it's called being quote unquote colorblind. Now, let me explain this to anyone who may be watching this and go, oh, that means she's racist. No, it is an ideology that is used to destroy racism. It means that I do not give a flying fuck what your skin tone is. I don't care where you're from. I don't care if you're smart or dumb. I don't care rich, poor. None of that matters to me. I see you first and foremost as a human being. So instead of saying, this is so-and-so, my blank friend, this is, oh no, that's just so-and-so, he's my friend, or she's my friend, or they're my friend. Doesn't matter. I don't care. which also does tie into my politics very heavily, which is I don't give a shit if the president is white, black, Hispanic, whatever, et cetera, Native American, et cetera. I don't care. I don't care if they're a man. I don't care if they're a woman. I don't care if they're trans. I don't care if they're gay, straight. I do not care. None of this matters to me. There's only one or two things that I care about when it comes to politics, when it comes to who's running. One, do they have the best interest for our country? Yes or no? Two, can they get the job done and get it done right? That's it. That's all I give a shit about. I don't care about anything else. If they can have those two things, then I am perfectly fine with them. I don't care who they are as a person. They could be a total piece of shit as a human being. I do not care. Can they get the job done? Can they get it done right? Will they do what is best for this country and not themselves? Period. That's it for my politics. That's all my requirements.
So just to steel man your position, in other words, to simplify it down so it's easier as a sentence to understand, so to speak, you would say then that your politics is more down to personality than policy?
No. It would be certain policies I will be against, and I understand that. I cannot expect every single human being to be a duality, basically. I do not expect my politicians to be perfect. I don't. I expect them to have flaws. I expect them to say shit that I don't like. But here's the thing. I do expect them to do their fucking job, to do what they say they're going to do. I expect them to have morals. I expect them to have honor and to honor what they say.
Sure.
That is it.
So, no, that's fine. I completely understand. But to me, that sounds more of an instance of you picking personality traits or characteristics in a person rather than policy positions.
It's a bit of both. It is a strength in character, but it is also policies. It's actually very difficult around voting time to find a candidate that you actually are willing to vote for when you are of the centralist ideology, because in America, it's basically, as it has been for quite some time, you're pretty much picking between, what will get you socially praised and what will get you socially ostracized. That's what you're picking.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but it's very similar in the UK at the minute for that.
Yeah, to me, that's wrong. I'm sorry, but I should not be judged as this horrible person because I decided to vote one way or the other. As a matter of fact, and I find this very funny, and people don't like me for this, and I don't care, but in the last election, I voted in it for an independent party. I voted independent. Why?
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Strictly because I liked his policy when it came to legalizing weed. I thought at least he'd be entertaining. Because I didn't like Hillary, and I certainly didn't like Trump.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't like you. I don't like you. I'm going with the pothead because that seems to be the best alternative to either of this insanity. The last election was the last election was a joke. All I was going to say
was, again, yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. All I was going to say was then, to me, it sounds like you look for, and there's nothing wrong with this, by the way, because I think most people that, and I don't mean you're not, so don't take it as such, but most people that are not politically engaged and use it as a form of the single issue voters, like, oh, somebody said something about abortion, I'm really good on abortion, or I really strongly think on this, so I'm going to vote that way because they agree with me. It sounds like
they go for a singularity instead of the most.
Yes. I'm not trying to say that you're that way. I'm trying to say that you see that most things were a shit show and something grabbed out at you that literally grabbed you. And it was in your words, a single issue. Now, that doesn't mean that you're a single issue voter. It just means that that's what swayed you. Would that be a correct assumption in that analogy?
That was more of a joke on my part. It was, I read up on his policies, and his policies were but in the situation, I felt that I did want to vote, but I did not want to vote for Hillary because I did not like how she was conducting herself. I did not like her policies. Sure. I did not like her politics. I very much did not agree with what she was saying or what she was representing. On the other hand, I really wasn't keen on Trump, honestly. I felt in certain aspects that, I kind of agree with what you said here, but you also believe in this, 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 and this, and I really don't agree with you there. It was more of these are two bulls. Basically, the best way I've heard this described is basically
the lesser. Go on.
Which one is the lesser of two evils? Or the lesser of three evils. But what kind of did get me to look at the third party was actually something I actually saw was their advertisement. And it kind of caught my attention. It wasn't the reason I voted that way, but it definitely caught my attention. It was basically, if the United States was Gotham City, Hillary was the mob, and Donald Trump was the Joker. On one hand, you have the mafia. It's corrupt, but at least you know what the hell you're getting. It's always been there. You know what kind of fuckery is going on. On the other hand, there's Donald Trump as the Joker, and you don't know what the hell he's going to do, but you know it's going to be hell. What United States needed was fucking Batman.
So, in your analogy, then, the Independent was your version of Batman?
Well, a really shitty Batman, but still.
Sure.
More like
I get it.
Version of Batman, but, you know.
No, that's absolutely fine. I mean, apart from the third-party aspect, I actually agree with your analogy. I do think that Hillary was a version of the mob of corruption, that you knew what was happening,
but it was still pretty bad.
Yes, very bad. And in aspects, I do think that Donald Trump is an aspect of an evil genius in some aspects. That maybe he's doing stuff that may be for the good, but maybe he's also doing it for the wrong reasons. So I kind of agree with your analogy. I think it's an apt analogy.
Sorry, I'm kind of eating it seems now because this is my lunch break.
No, that's absolutely fine. I that if we're going to go on that type of analogy and that type of a situation on how you take politics, where would your let's say where would your ideology, your foundation for why you pick the way that you do comes from? See, my foundation comes from the fact of my dad has always taught me read, don't follow, make up your own decisions and make up your own minds, which is why I generally don't identify myself as my ideas. My ideas are my ideas, not my identity. So I was wondering where your foundation
I come from a very similar background. I was raised by my dad. Now, my dad is actually more left-wing than I am, surprisingly. But he always told me, make up your own mind. Don't just go with what everyone's saying. But also, my great-grandfather, he passed away when I was very young. But I do remember certain things that he said to me as a small child. One of them was left wing, right wing, they're both a part of the same twisted bird. And also, he said, basically the government is a two-headed snake. You can't feed the one while expecting the other head to die and not to bite you. Okay? So my thing was, well, I don't want to feed a two-headed snake, so I'm not going to go there. And he made a lot of sense. When I recalled this as an adult, thinking back on it, the left wing or the right wing, it's a part of the same bird. It doesn't matter. To me, to choose one over the other is just stupid. It's idiotic. It makes absolutely no sense. Because, yeah, maybe 1 year or for 4 years, the left is doing all the right things. And, the right is being an asshat. Fine.
Yeah.
But what happens when the situation is flipped? Are you still going to defend the left wing when they're being total asshats compared to the right wing, which is actually trying to do something right?
Yeah, no.
Which a lot of people do that. They'll defend, that is their hill to die on, and they will defend it to the death. Yeah. I have decided, no, I'm not going to be defined by something so stupid, something that holds nothing on my character.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, which is why I think that you see so many left-wing activists that defend instances of the Antifa, for instance. Like, they would literally go out of their way to defend something that is really, in my opinion, really bad and actually is detrimental to the left.
Yes. Well, it's not just detrimental to the left. It's detrimental to society.
Yes, but I was trying to talk to...
sorry.
No, I understand. I was just trying to mean that on a personal level, because that's part of their identity. Yes. I understand that it's fucked against society, but because of their identity, they don't see it as a part or blemish on society. They see it as a means to an end to get to the society that they want, and a complete adverse to the opposite side, which is Nazism, apparently. Which I'm not saying doesn't exist, just not to the extent that they say.
It doesn't exist in the way that they see it. But here's the thing. Everyone is the hero of their own narrative. And for every hero, there needs to be a villain. Period. So they have created...
No, I completely agree with that.
Because here's the thing. When it comes to humans, our enemy needs to have a face for us to comprehend it. So what happens when when there is no face, when it's an idea? We give it a face. And what's the best way to create a villain? Make it something that you can very easily hate.
No, I completely agree.
Don't make it morally gray. Because when something is morally gray, then how can you hate it?
Well, also as well, if you put down to the person has an idea, you can't hate the person. You can only hate the idea, which to other people now seems completely and utterly inept. Because how can you hate the idea? You have to hate the person, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because the person is the one that has the idea. So, you stand with the person, which is why I've noticed that a lot of, when people discuss and debate, I've noticed this quite a lot with left-wing debaters. Now, don't get me wrong, it does happen on the right as well. It's not just a left-wing issue, and I'm not trying to denigrate it. But it does seem that a lot of left-wing operators tend to attack a person's character rather than the person's arguments. Now, again, that's up to them. That's their freedom of speech and whatnot. But if you're not actually attacking a person's ideas, how can you say that you're actually having a debate on the ideas? Because you're not, unless you think the person is the idea.
Yes, that's exactly the problem. People do not know how to debate anymore. Great example. I got into a small little argument with someone a while back. And it was on, basically systemic racism. That's what that's what it was. And they made the argument that even without being racist, you're still racist because of blank.
Yes.
And I called them on it. I said, okay, show me, prove it. Their response was to say, oh, I don't need to educate you. You need to educate yourself. No, that is not how a debate works. You have made a claim. I have told you, okay, prove it. When you say no, you have automatically told me you have no proof. You have nothing to back yourself up. That means you're in the wrong. You are just saying, you're just talking out your ass.
Sure.
That has become almost standard now, and that it absolutely pisses me off.
No, I
Because that should not be the standard.
completely not agree with you. No, I completely not agree with you. I would actually go a step further. And I've had different conversations with different people about what you just described. And generally, when they get to a certain point, like what you've just described, sometimes you'll get your response and sometimes you'll get this response. Because you're a white person, you have implicit biases against other races because of your whiteness. Now, there's two things to go on that.
Oh my God. It is the definition of irony.
I'm with you. I'm with you with the absurdity. But just let me just do this quickly. There's two things to go with that. One, you are literally just calling me racist because of my race. Two, and most importantly, you're saying that because of my race, I have implicit biases against other races. Does that also then, by logical determination, mean that other races also have that implicit bias because of that? Because if I do, because of my race, then logically, continuationally, means that they would as well. So does that mean everybody's fucking racist or nobody is?
I love that you brought that up because I have the counter argument to that. I've had it said to me. And it is glorious in its mental gymnastics. And I'm not going to lie, this person said this to me, and I laughed in their face. I damn near pissed myself. I really did. Well, no, because only white people can be racist. We can be racist to other people of color. Like, if you are, just for an example, if you are of African descent or of such and such descent, you can be racist towards other people who are not white, but you can't be, because it becomes the whole position of power thing. I'm like, whoa. I'm sorry, but I don't see a white person quota anywhere in business.
Yeah.
Number one. And on that note, I find that particular quota for certain races or certain thing, I find that fucking insulting. Because
I find that insulting to that race.
Oh no, here. What the company is saying is that you have no other merit to your name other than something you got in the genetic lottery.
Yes.
You're
not going to be good enough.
Something that you cannot control. Period.
No, I'm completely not with you.
How is that equality? That's not equality.
It's a way
That's fucking insulting.
No, I'm completely not with you. It's nothing to do with equality on that aspect. It's to erase guilt that they have from previous crimes of atrocity.
You are guilty. It's like
I agree with
you that you're worthless. I'm telling you that your only worth is your very existence.
No, I completely not agree with you.
Is that?
No, I really do completely not agree with you. I do actually think that when you have the idea of positive discrimination, and I use that term loosely.
I'm stealing that. I'm stealing that. I'm just letting you know I'm stealing that term because that is absolutely fantastic. I love
but when you do have that term of positive, when you have that term of positive discrimination, you are still discriminating. Exactly, you're still discriminating against those people.
Because what you're doing is that you're
exactly. But what you're actually doing is exactly what you've just said. You're actually saying that because of somebody's race, that they are not good enough. Like the SAT scores and things like that, they have to get lower scores because of their race and because of their creed. That means that you think that they're not good enough to do the same as what other people are. You're making the bar lower because you don't think they're good enough.
Because you're saying
who's the racist one?
If you're lesser than me, I'm going to make it easier for you. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Great example.
Exactly that.
If
No, completely
someone
not
were
agree
to
with
say
that.
that we're going to hire you simply because you're a woman, referring to me, I would tell them to
Yeah.
go fuck themselves. I am more, because here, with egalitarianism and with my ideologies and everything else, you are more than just, you know what, better yet, I'm going to quote Michael Jackson on this. I'm not going to spend my entire life being a color, okay? All right, number one.
Yeah. Mm.
I do not, to me, that is some first grade bullshit, okay? When you were defined by what your favorite color was, all right? That was some
Yeah.
first grade bullshit. We are adults now. That needs to go.
Yeah.
Also,
No.
if you are there just as a placeholder, why would you want to be in that level of toxic situation? That is detrimental to your confidence. That is detrimental to society. How about instead we tell you, you know what? We do think you're good enough. Now prove it. Prove us right.
No.
To me,
Exactly.
that says a lot more.
No, I completely not agree with you on that
Freedom
one.
and
I
freedom to
suppose.
succeed includes the freedom to fail. Period.
Yes, and that goes for everybody.
Yes.
You are the creator and destruction of your own destiny.
Yes.
I suppose that I would go on to the next point of that is, do you think that with people that are necessarily doing that, because it does tend to come from one sect of ideology, now that doesn't make them right or wrong in that idea, but because it does come from one sect, do you think that that comes from a point of their identity that they need to do this, and because of their identity that then shapes their thinking and feeling? Because if they want to carry on fitting in this ideology and this tribe, then they have to carry on thinking and doing this way.
I think it's more of a state of denial. I think honestly, through the generations, that certain things have been pounded into their head that are not necessarily that of a healthy and enmeshed family unit. I have heard certain races tell their kids shit that absolutely breaks my heart. That just absolutely, like, why would you tell this to a child? Let them be a child. I fucking hate it when parents will put on YouTube or put on social media of their kids saying some political ideology. I want to smack them silly, because it's like, no, that is not a child's problem. Like, great example, teaching sexuality and all that with first graders. No, that is a no. These are things they don't need to know about yet. Those are things that are actually detrimental to their mental state. And I can prove that with psychological research. I can prove that with past experience in my field. A great example. A doctor, his name was Dr. Money. I shit you not. And you can look this up, and I'm not going to name names because I'm probably going to botch it. But the situation is that during a circumcision with two twin boys, one of these boys had their circumcision completely and utterly botched. It got cut off, okay? So instead of,
I know the
normal human thinking, his parents decided to go to the psychologist, who then decided to make this poor child his own personal experiment of Mengele, and decided that nurture over nature, basically. That was the argument.
Yep.
Child raised as the opposite sex. Well, guess what happened? That particular individual ended up committing suicide before they turned 30.
Yeah,
and is now what I consider the most horrific. It is now what I would consider the most horrific aspect of psychology, to the point where I honestly believe that that particular psychologist should be hunted down like a dog. I'm not going to get into the shit that was done to this poor child because I find it to be so irreparably heinous that I don't want to discuss it at work.
No, I completely agree with you. I'm just going to quickly address somebody in chat because they're making quite an interesting point, and I just want to quickly address it, and then we'll move back on. Obviously, Enigma, when you say that people derive a great deal of value from their racial identity, they live on both the laurels and victimizations of their dead kinfolk. Yeah, they do. They do a hell of a lot. And I'm not saying that people should or shouldn't have that as an identity. I'm just saying that that doesn't define you as you. Now, you can be African American, but that doesn't define you as a person. You can be African Asian. You can do whatever you want, any aspect of people that make you who you are. But that doesn't make you your identity. That doesn't shape who you are. You decide that, not your racial background, which is why we were talking about the idea of having that.
It's literally the same thing that Dr. King was arguing against. You are basing who you are on the color of your skin instead of the content of your character. I honestly think that if Dr. King could see the political ideologies right now, he would be disgusted. Honestly.
I would actually agree with you. No, I would actually agree with you. I would actually agree with you on that one. I suppose moving on to maybe a separate point, maybe. We've kept on touching on different political ideologies and the separation of centrists and the separations of left wing and right wing. What is it that do you think that actually can pull us back together again from both the left and both the right? Because to me, I can say quite easily that we hold ideas that are similar to the left and similar to the right, and we take the good from both sides. But how do we pull them back into the center again to stop the extremes from pulling away from us?
Honestly, a part of me is a bit of an optimist and a bit of an idealist, which is not a bad thing, but it's also not necessarily a good thing. Ideally, we need someone who is neither. We actually need centralists in charge that will, a lot of the times when it comes to policies and it comes to laws and it comes to society, basically who's ever in charge is basically hacking away at certain things with a giant battle axe, and basically they have the subtlety of a sledgehammer to the face. That is not what we need. That is absolutely not what the United States need. This is not what the world needs. We do not need someone just hacking and whacking at this shit and these problems with a hammer willy-nilly. Because not all of it is cancerous. Not all of it is bad. Certain aspects of certain things are bad. We don't need to cut off the limb. We just need to get rid of the disease that is within the limb. We need the precision of we need someone with the precision of a surgeon. We need someone to carefully, meticulously cut certain things out and keep the good, get rid of the bad. We need... One second.
I mean, no, that's fine. If you can still hear me, I'll just ask this question while you're doing that. I suppose then with what you're saying is that if we have that type of aspect, I suppose it then comes to the point of who decides what's good, who decides what's bad, because people on certain ideological aspects are going to say communism is good, where people on other ideological aspects are going to say capitalism is good.
We look at history. We look at history. We look at past experiences. We don't... one of my favorite quotes of all time is, those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. And, and people who do pay attention to history are, absolutely pissed off at the people who don't pay attention, because they're like, we went through this, damn it. This didn't work the first time. What makes you think it's going to work this time? The definition of insanity is repeating the same action over and over again and expecting a different result.
Agreed.
But yeah, so what has history taught us? History has taught us just for an example, communism doesn't fucking work with large groups. It works with very small groups. It works with very tribal, primitive, small groups. When everyone does a certain job and can be held accountable for that job. That is it. That is the only way that works. It cannot work on a mass scale. There's too many factors. There are by far too many factors. You can keep maybe 100 people accountable in a town because everyone knows each other. Everyone knows what everyone else's job is. However, you take 1 million people, can you keep everyone accountable? Can you keep track of 1 million people? No, you cannot.
I completely not agree. No, I completely not agree. But the question that I was trying to shape, I suppose, is that if you've already made a predetermination that certain things may or may not be able to work for whatever reason, and that goes for any side and all sides, that they're going to have a predetermination that they've decided that something doesn't work, i.e. capitalism is apparently failing and so on and so forth, and vice versa for communism.
Capitalism is kind of failing because it's being heavily regulated, but that's neither here nor there.
Sure. There are reasons and rationale for anything, but my point is that without actually bringing people together to talk about what's good about one aspect and what's bad about another aspect and bringing them together and actually, as what you said before, meshing the ideas together, because there's aspects of communism that can work really well in aspects of capitalism. So there are really good ways of meshing those two ideas together. But just saying that one idea is going to supersede the other idea, to me, doesn't seem that it's going to work. It's just a point of
there is a way to determine that. And it's basically a threat assessment. Do the merits outweigh its flaws? Is it more beneficial for this to be integrated into society as opposed to it being ostracized by society? What will do us best, not just in the short term, not just what will make us feel good, not just what, will make us feel, all special and shit like that. No. What is going to be still standing 6 generations from us? What is still going to be working and standing 100 generations from us? We cannot be selfish when it comes to society. And I know that's very counterintuitive when it comes to the human psyche, because people are they're naturally selfish. They are. It's an aspect of humanity. There's no way around it.
Well, it's an aspect of being an animal. Most animals look after themselves.
Yes. Which is completely, it's fine. There's nothing you can do about it. I have come to terms with the fact that as a human being, I'm a violent, irrational, mostly emotional creature.
Yes.
And when it comes to the pack mentality, we are very similar to chimpanzees. We enjoy hurting. We enjoy torture. We enjoy killing. We enjoy it. If we didn't enjoy it,
in aspects,
we wouldn't do it. Yeah, in certain aspects. But you've heard of the terms fire in the belly. You've heard,
Oh, no,
like
I agree with you. I agree with you. I suppose we're having that pit where, because we're generalizing, I'm trying to say that individualistically that certain people don't and certain people do, and there's less that do enjoy torture than there are that don't. And I'm trying to moralize and justify what you're saying.
Yeah, you're justifying it in your own head. But
yes,
I'm speaking in general, as I'm taking us down to the bare bones primal instincts on a primal level. And this is a quote from the Men in Black. A person can be smart, rational, and collected of themselves in any given situation. People, as a group, however, are dumb, violent, panicky animals, and you know it.
Yeah.
That line has never been truer than it is right now.
No, I completely agree, which is, I know that we're just people on YouTube, so I know that we don't have all the answers, and I don't expect us to. It's just interesting to me that most people that tend to have conversations like this when it comes to ideologies we tend to stick to our own, which is why I've always been interested in talking to other centrists more than I've been interested in talking to opposite political ends, because I know where they stand and I know that they completely hate the opposite side. So I always try to. Well, I know that they do, because that's just the way that they've been. It's embedded into them. And my point with talking to somebody like yourself is, we can see that there are similarities in communism and in capitalism. That we can see that there are similarities. Now, don't get me wrong; they are complete opposites, but there are similarities. That doesn't mean that completely; it just means that there is. Why can we not join? Why can we not join the two ideas or parts of the ideas together? Now, that's not to be an appeasement.
The same reason why we're in this problem in the first place. The very same reason is because most people do not separate their identity with their ideas. Period. The cause of the problem is why it can't be fixed.
I'm wondering then if that's the reasons why, because there have been centrist MPs or senators and so on and so forth, political figures, so to speak, that have been centrist in ideologies that don't really seem to get a popular vote, so to speak, or enough of a vote to really do anything. No, because they can't
be defined. They don't fit in a little box.
Which is where I was going with it, which means that maybe then what we have to do is not necessarily change society as a whole, so to speak, but change the way that society interacts with ideas. Try to diffuse the idea of identity politics again and actually bring people back to the point of ideas. That way we can try to revert back to not being so tribalistic in our expression of identity and expression of ideas, separating the fucking two again.
Sorry, I was just answering a certain comment that Obvious Enigma stated. They stated, well, sociopaths don't separate their goals with their identity. That is untrue. They actually do, and they're very good at it. It's actually one of the... Which is why they're sociopathic. Which is why they're sociopaths.
No, it's true, because they can separate themselves from ideas. Yeah, that's what I meant. That's the reason why they are sociopathic, because they can separate themselves and separate others from what they need to do. Like, I need to get to this bit of money. That person's in the way. Fuck that person. That's why they're sociopathic.
Yes, because they do not have the emotional aspect of ethics to draw upon. They don't understand it. They have a lack of the ability to have empathy for anyone aside from themselves.
To be fair, though, I don't even think that they have empathy for themselves. It's more of a case of self-gratification, I think, that they have.
It's that too, but they understand themselves, but it's more of a condescending kind of thing. I'm not the best at explaining it, so I do apologize. But
no, that's absolutely fine. I was wondering then, just to go on to that point, do we think that I'm sure that we can come to the understanding of thinking that more and more people are having more and more mental issues, at least diagnosed. Now, correlation doesn't equal effect, but taking a hypothesis, for instance, if more and people are being diagnosed, does that mean that more and more people are actually becoming more, let's say, mentally challenged or have aspects? Because, as I said to you before, I'm being tested for being autistic.
This is a very hot button topic for me. I'm gonna warn you right now.
But that's what I was meaning, because
diagnosis does not necessarily mean that it's true.
Agreed, especially if it's a self-diagnosis as well.
Yes,
and you can also fake diagnosis.
The bane of my existence.
Yeah, but what I was trying to, should I say, grasp at, because I'm not doing an adequate job of actually explaining it, is maybe there's a correlation with the aspect of more and more people are being diagnosed with more and more mental issues and more mental health aspects that are going on. Does that, could that be an aspect of why we are, should we say, tribalizing because not saying the mental illnesses, because I'm not saying that everybody's got that, and I'm not saying that everybody has an aspect of it. I'm not saying that. But it does seem to be an aspect of maybe more and more aspects of narcissism and more aspects of self-idealism is now coming to the forefront of I'm important.
Well,
I have all of this to say.
to kind of help answer obvious Enigma's question and yours at the same time.
Yeah.
First and foremost, in more recent years, in past 10 years, I'd say, mental illness has become a trend. It's become a pop culture thing. It has become trendy. It has become cool to say that you're crazy, insane, or sick in the head or whatever. And that's actually a line from a very good rapper by the name of Tom MacDonald. I do suggest you listen to him. He comes up with a lot of really good points I think you would enjoy. But honestly,
is that is it Canadian rapper? The one that says I'm the one that did the song about I'm white type thing?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I very much like
he's
him.
actually really fucking good. Yeah, he's
he
really
is.
good.
He makes a lot of sense. But here's the thing. The DSM, I don't particularly agree with how the DSM is doing things right now.
It does seem to be pandering more than actually diagnosing.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. It's why I got out of the field that I was in the first place, because I saw it happening. I saw that shit coming from a mile away, and I got the fuckity fuck out of there. But here's the thing. Unless the thing with mental illness is that a lot of people only get surface level diagnosis. And when I say surface level, I mean they just go to a psychiatrist that, you pay by the hour or whatever, and then, oh, okay, well, you have 3 sessions, and oh, look, you have this and this and this and this. No, I'm sorry, but I have no respect for people like that. I have no respect for doctors like that. Okay, 1 second, please. The cleaning crew is going to be making some noise. So I will be right back.
No problem. I suppose that's actually a really good point, to be fair, because when we have these types of situations, is it a case of people are acting in a way that is intrusive with the idea of diagnosis and fake diagnosis? So I find that maybe saying that I'm autistic or something like that makes me sound or be more than what I already am. It gives me a personality. It gives me an identity. It's something that makes me stand out, so to speak. Now, I'm not saying that people do this over all the time. I'm not saying that. But there are, I assume, people that would do this, that play to the idea of pretending that they are something to give themselves something to stand out from. Because I suppose in an age where everybody tries to show them and their aspects of I am different, I am special, look at me. If everybody is just average and everybody has similar or same aspects to themselves, then what actually makes you different? I don't know, personality traits, political traits, other characteristics that actually are not defined by your actions and who you are, but by ideological stance or by physiological stances or psychological stances. Are those what characteristics that now are trying to define us as individuals, rather than saying, I have autism or I have gender dysphoria, is I am transgender, I am autistic? Those types of situations, those change of words. It's now a definition of what I am, not a definition of what I may have. A description of who I am, not a prescribement of what I have. I suppose that's something that has plagued on my mind for quite a long time, actually, to be honest with you. That is it a aspect of that we are looking for this specialization, that we're so special that we need to try and not necessarily make things up, but we know we exaggerate certain characteristics to make ourselves look better than what we are. I mean, you could probably say and use this as an example. The idea of saying to a girl that you just met or a boy that you just met at a bar, I'm an astronaut. Now, you know that you're not. They probably know that you're not. And that is an extreme example. But my point is that you always try to make yourself stand out from the crowd that you are. Is that a humanistic trait that we've actually, should we say, exacerbated and expanded upon to try and make ourselves more special than what we are, to stand out from the herd, so to speak, because of how many people that are around or in our social circles or just who we interact with? I mean, those are just some of the aspects that I'm thinking of under this point. It's kind of hard to be able to try and bat those ideas across, so to speak, especially with just chat. It's interesting, though, because we could put to the aspect of that and say that it's something to do with the idea of political ideology. The same thing as we can say that with religious ideology and religious dogma, that Christianity, Islam, Judaism comes to a point of more of I am a Christian, I am a Muslim, I am a Jew, so on and so forth. It's not. It comes from a point of I am this.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if that's now turned into a political point.
Yes, it absolutely has. Everything has become political. And like I was telling you before we went on air, a part of my channel's hook is quite literally, and you can look on my About page and it's still there, are you sick of politics? Then this is the channel for you, because there is no politics. It is one thing that has remained pure. You can't really politicize horror all that much. I mean, you can, but then it stops being horror and it just becomes annoying. Okay?
Yeah.
Here, let me skip my About page, because I do love the way, yes, I'm whoring. Shut up. I don't care. I am whoring myself and I am shameless in it.
If you send it to me on Discord, I'll put it straight into the chat.
Yeah, but no. No politics, no agendas, only entertainment for all of us who are sick of everything being about politics. Come and join me and relish in the darkest and most depraved aspects of humanity, bathed in blood and surrounded by screams. That is an excerpt from my fucking own channel. And here, I will DM it to you right now. There we go. But yes, that is legitimately what got so many people to my channel in the first place. Because I don't play that game. I refuse. I just talk about serial killers. I read creepypastas. I make cannibalism puns. And a shit ton of them. And it's fucking amazing. Oh no, I literally have one video where I full on admit that I have jokes that are so cringy that they can cause permanent disfigurement to the face. I say that completely out loud. And fucking hell, my fucking subscribers, which yes, there is one in the chat, Dark Apostle, I see you there. I see you there, Void. You motherfucker. I love your ass, though. Oh, no, I fucking love him. He's the greatest. He's one of my Patreons, too. He's an amazing human being. But, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. My videos are fun. But the whole idea behind it is just the simple fact of I'm just there for the mayhem and gore. That's all I'm there for. I'm just there to tell you these horrible fucking things about humanity, and maybe we get a giggle out of it or something. Because I actually started laughing when I talked about Jeffrey Dahmer, because he put a skull in his oven and it exploded, and I couldn't help myself but to giggle. Because all I could think of is him standing in one of his other rooms, and all of a sudden, poof, the fuck was that? Oh shit, the skull exploded. That makes me laugh. That kind of weirdness makes me laugh. But you know what? Yes, Senpai noticed you. Senpai noticed you there, Void. But yeah. Inaccuracies about sociopathy. Yeah. Go away. I'm not a professional. I never pretend to be. Go ahead. Call me out on my shit. I don't care. But that's the whole thing. Is my channel is of something pure. It is purely horrifying and horrific content. And if you don't like it, go away. There's nothing political about it. And I think that's why so many people have stayed. I think that's one of the main reasons. I make dark jokes. I warn you about that. I am infamous for my gallows humor. I will make some fucked up jokes.
Keeping this back onto topic for just a couple of seconds, because what I'll do is I'll probably end soon anyway. But just quickly kicking it back to what the topic was. Do you think that's the reason why we are so divided now? Is because we don't take the time to actually turn ourselves off from politics like we used to? We're so trying to be politically engaged that we're always uptight and trying to fight people all the time, and we're not separate anymore.
People, especially in my generation and the generation before me, and even some with the latest generation. I'm not looking at chat right now, so I'm ignoring it. I'm guessing that's what's making you giggle.
No, you said the generation beforehand, so I waved.
You were, you know it, and I know. We were always told, "Well, you're special. You're unique. No one else is like you." Well, if you're 1 in a million, there's like 7,000 other people who are exactly like you. I'm sorry, that's just statistics.
Yep.
But the kids who took that to heart, because I certainly didn't take that to heart, because I had a dad who just said, "Yeah, you're special to me, period.
Yes.
The rest of the people don't give a shit about you." He made that distinction very clear. Like, I was to have confidence, but not too much. Not too much.
No, I mean, I actually completely agree with you on that one. I think that one of the distinctions that happens today is the inclusivity. Like, if you're playing sports, for instance, or you're doing a dance recital,
everyone's a winner.
Everybody is classified. Yeah, exactly.
No.
We used to have winners, second place. You know, you were told that you needed to do
had
better.
winners and
you were
losers,
told that
okay?
you weren't that good.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Here's also the thing with the stupid fucking, all millennials, we always got all these trophies. That's why I didn't get any fucking trophies. Did you get any fucking trophies? I certainly didn't.
No,
I want to know who the fuck got these trophies. No, I want to know who the hell got these trophies.
Actually, to be fair, I did get some. I used to be quite good at soccer, so I did get some.
I did the same thing with that, but I didn't get a participation trophy. I want to know who the hell.
No. I
want to know who the hell did. I want to know.
No, I mean, I completely agree with you on that one, which is why I think that we are now trying to say that we are special. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the idea of that
have to be special.
Yeah, but
if everyone is special, then no one is.
Then everybody's the same. Everybody's ordinary. I get it. But my point was that I get the idea of it. It's to encourage kids, encourage everybody to be able to do this and do that. The thing is,
it's too much.
We are different. No, but even easier and simpler for that is that we are different. Some people are really good at art. Some people are really good at fucking running. That doesn't mean that the person in the art class is as good as running as the other person and vice versa.
No.
Our differences are what makes us special.
Yes, but here's the thing. Every individual is unique to an extent. We all have unique DNA, okay? Even identical twins do not share the exact same DNA. Even they have different fingerprints. There's always some aspect that makes us different from the rest. But here's the thing. That distinction is not made. because kids, little kids don't understand that. Let's be honest with ourselves. Kids are smart, but not that smart. They're smart in certain aspects.
I agree. We're not self-aware.
Incredible. No, but they're not. They don't understand certain nuances. But what we need to teach kids is that they have the freedom to succeed, but they also have the freedom to fail. That they control their entire destiny. They control how they react to a certain situation. They control their life. Their life is theirs. And what we also need to teach kids, and the number one thing that I always run into, and I have such a problem with parents that don't do this. Parents who shield their kids from any level of criticism or any negative feeling, y'all need to be hit. All right, I'm sorry. They need to be hit. They make me so mad.
For clarification, she means the parents need to be hit for not allowing the criticism. Just for for clarification.
And also, I do not advocate for violence against anyone. It's an expression. I know, very strange. This mother not advocating violence. I am not my character. Okay, Miss Murphy, the character. Okay. No, I am not a parent. I never want to be a parent because I'm crazy. And no, you don't need another one of me running around, okay? I don't want the world to end, unlike Optimus. By the way, praise Doug. But you need to let your kids fail. You need to let them see their limits. And everyone has their limits. Yeah, except for Charlie. Charlie is another aspect on my show, but I'll introduce you to him later. The whole point is, the whole point of it is that kids need to know that it's okay to fail. It's okay to fuck up. It's okay to make mistakes. And parents aren't teaching them that. And that's very sad. To me, that's very sad. It's kind of like giving your kid a vaccine for life. Like, the kids who've been through some shit.
Very quickly, because otherwise I'll lose the point. Yeah. Very quickly, otherwise I'll lose the point. When you were just saying that with that aspect, it seems to me that with them not allowing people to fail, so like that type of situation, they're not allowing it.
Then they can't handle it when they're an adult. They can't handle it.
Exactly where I was going to go. That's exactly where I was going to go. That when they do actually start to experience failure and they look at other people that are progressing further past them, they start to internalize and think that there's something wrong with them because they've never been told that it's okay to fail and not be as good as somebody else.
They've never been told that, hey, sometimes life isn't fair. Sometimes things just don't mesh the way you want it to. Yet, exactly, Sam. If you never fail, you never learn. The kids who have been through some shit, like myself, like Jensen, like maybe even you, maybe you've got some scars. You might have some scars. I certainly have some scars. Okay, emotional, mental, physical. We all have our scars. Kids, a lot of the time these days, these kids don't have scars, which drives me nuts. Because the kids with scars, when shit hits the fan, they know to step out of the way. These other kids have no clue. They just get freaking steamrolled, and then they don't know how to respond, and then they flip out because their brain breaks. And there's
I live by a mantra.
But there's also another aspect to it. They don't know how to empathize with the people who do have scars. They have no concept. There's no concept to it. There's no basic ground. There's no common ground for them.
Yes.
People with dark humor are completely foreign to them and seem like aliens because they have no mental, past mental concerns or, mental breaks that would allow them to suggest or even develop that kind of humor. Let's see.
No, I definitely actually agree with you on that
That's
one.
a good point. Also, the ones that can handle it, seeing themselves being held back because of it. Well, why do I have to work harder when they are just going to do the same, get the same as us? Yes, that's another problem with it. If you make everything equal, what's the point? What is the point of success? There's no point.
Oh, I was just thinking, because with what Optimus Christ just said there and what you've just tried to elaborate on as well, it actually brings up an extremely valid point that I think I would actually want, or hypothesis that I want to share and see how it's actually taken. With the idea of how everybody is supposed to be treated the same and everybody is supposed to be treated specially and so on and so forth, I'm wondering if the reason why the idea of socialism and communism is coming up so prevalently is because people see that disparity between themselves and somebody else, and they're wondering why they aren't as special as them. Because obviously there's a massive difference. They've got a massively great lifestyle, luxury, and everything else of that.
It's also,
and I'm wondering.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was wondering if the reason why that socialism and communism is going up is not just because of them actually partaking in the ideology, but it's because that they want to take that person's specialness away to make them be the same as that person that's special, because they can't reach there. So the idea of taking away their specialness to then level theirs up is more better than them trying to level their own specialness up.
Yes and no. I think it's a two-headed sword. It's a two-edged sword, double-edged sword. It's not just
so not a double-headed snake. So not a double-headed snake then.
That too. It can also do that. But it's not just that. In certain aspects, I think that is the case. But in other aspects, I think it's guilt. It's like survivor's guilt. Why do I get to do all this thing, but yet my friend over here isn't there? Why can't they be here with me? And they feel guilty because they haven't had that little shot of, life kicking them in the ass of, hey, sometimes life isn't fair.
That's actually a really interesting
lost
point.
on a sea of injustice, horrifying aspects, with only a smattering of, decency, of islands of decency throughout. Sometimes the bad guy gets away. Sometimes good doesn't always triumph. Sometimes, shit is just shitty. But you know what? If we didn't have that, we wouldn't know what good was. We would have no concept of morality. And another line from Tom MacDonald is, a gun can't protect us if we don't know where our morals are. Morals have absolutely dipped in society in general.
No,
but also, again, common sense has too.
No, I actually agree with that. I mean,
honestly,
I would actually agree with that. I just wanted to jump on your point. I actually think that you've made an extremely great point on the idea of people that have a form of survivor's guilt. If you look at people that espouse the idea of socialism or communism, most of them are quite well off.
Yes.
So I'm just wondering exactly what you said is a correlation of them trying to pull people up to their level while losing theirs. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, because they've never, a lot of them have also never seen true poverty. They've never seen true, how low humanity can go. I have the experience because I used to work at a drug rehabilitation center. I have seen and heard shit I would never repeat to another human being.
Yeah.
Because to me, it is just horrifying. It's horrifying. I have that level of empathy. I know how depraved and how absolutely insane human nature can be.
Yeah.
Other people don't. They don't have that. They don't understand. Yeah. Not all people that collect macabre things are deviant. Yes, I'm not I can't say I'm not deviant, but I cannot make that
I'll leave that one.
Just leave that alone. I can't say it because there's certain people in the chat who will absolutely call me out. No, I'm not dealing with that. But when you have no idea how bad shit can get, you will look at your own life, and instead of thinking, "Whew, shit, I'm lucky," it's, "Oh my God, what is this? What horrible," and you feel guilty because you've never experienced that. You can't, and if it's someone that's close to you, you can't empathize with someone you consider a part of your tribe. And that is a huge blow to the human psyche.
You just literally went on to a point. You just literally went on to a point that I was going to bring up. Do you think that the idea of not being able to empathize with people on opposite sides, as in left versus right, so to speak, the meme, so to speak, do you think that the reason is that they can't empathize is because they don't want to, and that's the reason why they hate each other, because they don't want to look at
it's
how
not that
they've
they don't
arrived?
want to. I mean, some of them maybe, but I think for the vast majority, it's because they don't know how. They were never taught that. They were taught that everyone is special, that everyone can do whatever they want. They can be anything they want. And if they can't, it's because someone hurt them. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it's you that's hurting you.
I mean, I would like to just come back on what you just said, which is, if that's the case in this idea, in this hypothetical, if that's the case, then people would be trying to say, well, why are they thinking differently to me? I think that the reasons why people are doing to the point of I'm special is the reasons why they don't want to talk to other people and empathize with them, because they have that nepotism. They have that nepotism that forces them to go, I'm more special and I'm more right. So you're obviously wrong, so I don't need to listen to you.
Well, it's that and certain aspects of society. I don't think racism is necessarily about race. I think that is an aspect of it, as weird as that sounds, and this is going to sound really strange. But a lot of things that people classify as racism isn't racism. It's classism.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Kind of am I making any sense here? I know that sounds super.
No, I agree.
Weird.
No, because I agree. Let me try and still man your position very, very quickly. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. What you're saying is that when you see social disparity, as in you see black neighborhoods that are actually being where they are, it's not necessarily just because they're black. It's because of the social aspects of that surround them. But we attribute that to their race, not because of their class.
Well, it's a social class, though. It's also a social class.
I agree.
I don't.
No, I mean, I was still managing.
White people who are there. There are Hispanic people.
Of what other people think, that it's not. I agree with you. I think it is.
Yeah. I absolutely. That is basically, it's social disparity is not based solely on race like people like to think. It's based on what social class you are from. Yes, if you have a ton of money and you have a really good upbringing, you can absolutely get a lot further, a lot easier, and a lot faster than someone who maybe didn't have that. But you know what? I don't see like not having anything or not having money or the good background or that. I don't see that as a detriment to your life. I don't see that as you will never succeed because this is where you are. And that is a big thing I've seen. That is a huge aspect I have seen with people telling other people, well, you're from the ghetto, so you're just going to stay there your entire life. That is so toxic and so horrible. It drives me insane. I see that as, because I've seen the opposite. Don't see that as an ultimatum. Like, if you're from here, you need to stay here. No. Take that as a fucking challenge.
Yeah.
And a little bit of background for me, just as an example. My biological mother was a piece of shit. Absolutely. And there are those who can attest to this because they've heard the stories.
Mm-hmm.
By all statistical accounts, and by all mannerisms, especially when I grew up, I should have been living with her my entire life. I should have been pregnant at 16 just like she was. I should have like 6 kids by now with 14 baby daddies and be on the social welfare and just a leech on society. That's where I should be. I'm not. I lived with my father most of my life. I looked at where she was and my mother doesn't have a pot to piss in, to be perfectly frank with you. She has never owned a home. She has never had a marriage that has lasted more than 4 years. I'm not joking about that. She's been married 5 different times. I actually say she was divorced 5 different times. Last time she got married, I literally told her, you couldn't have told me this through text. Really, that was I'm not joking about that. But by all statistics, I should be there, shouldn't I? If that is where I came from? Literally growing up in a trailer park?
I'm definitely not a determinist. I believe that you make your own decisions in life. I've never been a self-determinist.
Please. Statistically speaking, because you seem like you're a pretty smart guy. Statistically speaking, is that not what would have been the most likely scenario?
By laws of averages, you would either be the same or lower in social equity.
Yes. I'm not. I saw what that was. I made the decision long ago that I didn't want that. I got lucky and I was able to be raised by my dad, who gave me a good work ethic, who gave me that shot that I needed. And some people don't get that shot. That I understand that. But I decided, no, that wouldn't be me. So I worked, despite my neurobehavioral disorder, because I have ADHD, which makes it very hard for me to focus. It makes it very hard for me to retain knowledge. I do not let that define me. I look at my ADHD as both a blessing and a curse, but it's also a goddamn superpower. That hyper-focus, though, that's some serious shit right there. But I saw that. I worked harder in school than I ever thought possible. I had mental breakdowns in school. And you know what? I went from a student who was late all the time, who couldn't finish her work from first grade. I graduated high school in the top 15% of my class. I graduated with full honors. I went to a community college. I am now working. I am going to college for a second time because I ran out of money. I am learning mixed martial arts. I am learning different languages solely because I want to improve my brain. I do not have any kids. I do not have any baby daddies. I do not have a criminal record. I am above where my biological mother is by a good margin. And that is something I'm very proud of.
You should be.
It is proof that where you start absolutely does not have to be where you finish. And I think that's a part of the problem, is that people they've gone into this state of depression where they don't think that they can do any better because they don't know any better. Instead of taking it as a challenge, they take it as just a fact of life. And that makes me sad. Because it's not a fact of life.
No, I completely and totally agree with you on that one. We are told that where we are supposed to be, where we're supposed to end up, and we assign ourselves to that determination, that future. which is why I was saying I'm not a determinist. Where you start from is never ever going to be where you end up. That's on
No,
you. You have the
no.
tools to be able to change whatever tools you have. You have the tools to be able to change where you are.
And, fake it till you make it.
Yeah, in
Pretty
aspect.
much. Yes.
Yeah. I think that is actually a really good time to actually decide to end the stream on that actual
Yes.
high
We've been
note.
going on for 2 hours.
Yeah. Which is amazing, and I've loved the conversation, and I think it's very interesting. I think we've touched on some really hard subjects and been able to try and maneuver ourselves around them quite well. I do think that that's a really good, important point. Yeah, I'm going to leave that
one. I hate to say it, but we've spent the past 2 hours in a circle jerk, and you know it, and I know it.
Hey, as long as you got dirty and I got dirty, well, at least we got dirty together.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, not me.
But no, that's actually a really good point to end on. Not the circle jerking, though that would be a good ending, but not the one that we want.
Oh my! Well, you don't want a happy ending. Oh, sorry, I had to go. I had to.
My. But yes, no. Whatever. It's an impression. It may not be a good one, but it is still one.
Shit. It was shit. Be ashamed.
Thanks, love. Thanks.
Oh wow, I got love. Wow, I feel special.
You should feel special.
Oh God. But yeah,
yes, ladies and gentlemen, and however you may be, I am going to end the stream now. So if you want to go to Miss Murder's channel and have a listen to her talk about her horror stuff and her stories, serial killers, and so on and so forth, please do. I will link it down below. It's also in the chat. I will link it again in the chat now for people that are watching at this minute. Go and subscribe to her because she deserves more than the 400 subs that she's got. So please go and sub to her. I suppose, do you have any sort of final words before we sign off?
Just with my channel, if the jokes are going to be cringy as fuck, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be cringe. And yeah, please listen to the disclaimers. I cannot stress that enough. Some of the aspects I go over are quite disgusting, and don't eat while you're watching my channel. Don't. You don't want to know. Especially on the horrifying facts one. That's about it. Oh no, I'll send you my cringiest one. I will send you my cringiest one. You will hate me, but you'll hate yourself for laughing, but yeah.
How do you get to assume that I will laugh at cringy stuff?
Because you are friends with Jensen, and Jensen laughs at the cringy shit. So I'm assuming you probably have a similar sense of humor. And a lot of it's self-deprecating. So you Brits seem to like that shit.
We do like self-deprecation. It's our forte.
Yes. You are very good at enjoying yourself. It's very amusing. You're better at it than Americans are. And that is coming from me. Yeah,
but the difference is we actually decide that we're going to do it ourselves. You just can't help yourself.
Hey, we are a war-loving people. If we're not kicking someone else's ass, what are we doing? Come on now. No, seriously, America does its best when we're beating the shit out of somebody else. We're like a dysfunctional family.
That's why you normally kill. That's why you normally kill more of your own soldiers than the people you're fighting. But not self-deprecating.
I'm not. I can't argue. I've never served, so I really can't argue. But it is what it is.
Right then, ladies and gentlemen, on that nugget, on that bombshell.
Now, I don't think he would disagree. No.
Right, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I do love Jensen. He's a good lad.
Yeah.
Right. On that note, we are going to go, and I am going to say goodbye. See you all again real soon. Bye-bye for now.